guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ada, your online therapist. So guys, in continuation with my previous video, I call it the dating university. Like smart dating. So guys, let's get into smart dating. Smart dating is going to separate short-term goals versus long-term goals. That's really what I'm going to point out. If you're only interested in short-term relationship goals, that means hookup, well, just skip the entire video. Just head on to hinge.com, plenty of fish, you know where to fish all those people. Quick, bang, wham, and off you go. Doesn't really need much education for short-term relationship. There's always a man around the corner. There's always a woman around the corner who wants some quick fix, and off they go. However, this video is for long-term relationship goals, objectives, or aims. If you're going to be in a long-term relationship, or if that is your goal, then listen, I got news for you, plenty of news actually. Let's start with long-term relationship. That means you want companionship, that means you need compatibility, that means you want loyalty, and also you want some form of bonding. It is known that children often create long-term bonds in a couple. Before we get to children, let's get to both of you first of all. Now for long-term relationships, this is where a lot of people, most especially women, have headaches, heartbreaks, and a lot of breakdowns. Now let's start with you. You have to know where you are on the mating preference totem pole, as they call it. Yes. Where do you rank in the hierarchy? Now, unfortunately, before you head into personality types, your favorites, physical attraction, and all of that, you need to understand, first of all, that there's an evolutionary aspect. There are evolutionary things at play between a man and a woman. It's always going to be like that. If you can ignore it, you can learn from it and be wiser. So I'm going to present how these things are at play so that you make a wise choice. Because oftentimes it's almost like, oh, there are no good women out there, there are no good men out there. Well, you're just not good at looking. Put it plainly. We seem to have lost this, we lost the awareness of how to look, how to do research. A lot of us are lazy about so many things, and we seem to expect that things like relationship and long-term things require research, whether it's relationship, whether it's your lifestyle, job, career, profession, education, you name it. Anything that's long-term needs a better and stable plan, and you have to execute it stepwise. Once this level is done, you go to the next level, just like college, high school, and so on and so forth. Everything that has a long-term goal or spectrum needs better planning, better research, and proper execution. When it comes to smart dating means, am I doing this long-term or short-term? Short-term, there's no headache. Just find someone you're physically attracted to. Off you go. Bye-bye. Long-term, you understand that the most physically attractive couples aren't really the ones that stay the longest. Kim Kardashian and what's the gentleman's name in case in point, 72-hour marriage, 3-day marriage. This is not to beat about that marriage, but it just says that long-term. Anything long-term needs to be more substantial. It needs you to have a better plan. So let's get into the dating part. On the evolution side, because there's you and then there's evolution. We all have to figure it out, because evolution is going to make you do what you do. Evolution is, even when a woman says she's not interested in marriage, there's always going to be that internal ticking about age, about looks, because this is all evolution. It's just trying to make us do what we were born to naturally do. You're a woman, you have the tendency to love children, care about children, to be soft, to be generous, to be kind, and all that. A man, you tend to be more logical, you tend to be more assertive, and so on. These are evolutionary characteristics, biology, if you look at it. You can't run away from it. You can make it work for you and not against you. Oftentimes, the poor results people get in dating is because they ignore the biological and natural processes and think that they can circumvent it and just reinvent the wheel for themselves. Well, I'm sorry, you're not an endangered species. There's a billion human beings, and we have one head, except for the mutations, of course, but that's the exception of the rule. The rule of the human is one head, two arms, two ears, and all that stuff. And that means we function in similar ways: black, white, brown, yellow, you name it, whatever skin type, races, culture. We pretty much have the same needs. We pretty much have the same taste. I'm sorry, we are just so repetitive, predictable. When it comes to dating as well, from New York to Alaska to Sudan to Somalia to Nigeria to Iran to Canada, men want women, women want men, and of course we have the homosexuals and the transgender and so on. Same thing, of course, everywhere. That means there's really nothing mystical about dating. Whether you want to date anyone from any race, you're always going to be boxed in by evolution. That means evolution limits our wants and our needs. We can be sophisticated about it, there's no problem. We can only be sophisticated in terms of the kind of person we want, but at the end of the day, humans, we want companionship. We are social beings. Elephants are social beings. That means we like to be in groups. We like to be with other people. We're not lone animals like the cheetahs and the tigers. You know, those lone animals that you find only by themselves. Even when they manage to come together and mate, bye-bye, that's it. They go their separate ways. If you look at the animal kingdom, primates that we are closely linked to, such as the baboon, chimpanzees. Now here's the thing. If you look at how their birthing process is, you will not find a situation where these animals mate and the males remain. Basically what it means is females look for, it's like a natural selection process. So they have to be careful who they mate with because they're responsible for taking care of the offspring once gestation takes place. And the idea is because the male is not always going to be there, they need to make sure that the offspring can also survive, because mating with a weak male means that the offspring already has a problem even before they're born. So that is where natural selection for the animal kingdom just cuts off weaker species, weaker members of the species. For us human beings, when it comes to dating, this is the same thing we do. Yes, we're humans, but we still follow that same route of mating with the strongest, the healthiest, and the most desirable. This is what we do. When it comes to men and women, men follow the same pattern when they want to settle down. In quotes, settle down. That means they need to look for wifey material. That means keep their home, give them children, take care of the children, take care of them, and so on. So how come there are men who want short-term relationships? Well, they're not looking for, these men are decided that, well, as we know, as human beings, sex is pretty much between 2 minutes and 10 minutes. Never mind, honeymooners will go all day. They're not the rule, they're the exception. But the idea is sex is not a critical survival process in the human experience. Food, yes, we have to hunt. We must hunt every day. As of the ancestors' time, there was need to hunt every day, cook every day, eat every day, you know. The reason why humans are not eating every day is because we are able to retain energy from the food that we consume longer than most animals. Most animals, like goats, cows, they graze almost all the time because they burn up that energy. Take the lions. If they're not eating, they are sleeping. I mean, you think the lions are the king of the jungle. How about the laziest king of the jungle? They can spend up to 16 hours resting. Yes, that's because they're heavy animals. All the energy from that meat and all that prey they hunt, they take time to digest it, and they cannot afford to lose all that energy doing wasting anything. So once they burn all that up, they have to go and hunt and then rest. Unlike us, we can just get hungry and go find food easily. Most herbivores graze constantly because there's always food. Carnivores have to manage their energy because they have to go and hunt, and they must hunt while they have energy. Okay, this is why a wounded lion is bound to die, because it cannot catch prey, cannot sustain itself, ergo death. So coming to smart dating, I'm trying to simply establish the understanding that we, even as sophisticated members of the animal kingdom, we still follow some evolutionary demands. That is, finding a mate who will help us fulfill the evolutionary demands of procreation and continuance of the species. That being said, there's a lot of trickery. There's a lot of issue with dating, that when you're doing long term and you go into a pool of people who are doing short term, you're always going to find the short end of the stick. You're always going to be hurt, heartbroken, and completely devastated. So for women, especially women, because men do this all the time. Men seem to operate from a point of auto search. It's like when they're ready to settle down, then they start to grade down, laser focus on the woman that will give them what they want. But women seem to have been put in a situation where they want something and they're like, any man can give it to me. Well, the problem is, just like the ancestral situation where only mature men, alpha men, get to mate with females. And females decide who is alpha based on competition. He who is able to beat other men can have the woman. But nowadays, we're not like the primates where it's just one alpha. Men can have access to women. There's low alpha men can have access to non-alpha women. All he needs to do is change his standards. Women, on the other hand, seem to not have a grasp on how this dating, mating, and long-term marriage works. So here's it. For a woman in the 21st century or 20th century, whatever century we are in, excuse me, we have to understand that dating, smart dating, means what pool, where are you fishing? If you're fishing in short term, you're not going to turn up with anything meaningful long term. If you're fishing for long term and you're fishing for short term and you end up with long term, it's always going to be dragged out to you. First of all, know what you want. Now, the trade-off of women having, where we have a lot of single mothers, of course, when I say single mothers, I'm generalizing on the majority, not the exceptions, not the one-offs, where probably a woman is widowed, or I'm talking about married women become single mothers. There are so few compared to unmarried women who become single mothers. Now, a woman who ends up having a child by a man who does not intend to be available in the child's life, and by available, I mean all the way fatherhood parenting. You see, men initiate marriage so that they can ensure paternity of their children. Back in the days, the only way for the ancestors to know that this woman, the child produced by a particular woman, is mine, is she's promised to stay with me, and I have to keep gifting her to keep her in my home. Otherwise, she's going to walk away to the man who gives her the next. Then we had cultures that ensured that once a woman has been given to a man, she's not going to go off with another man. But still, there was still adultery, there were still other forms of sexual infidelity that happened. Okay, so at the end of the day, deciding, okay, which woman will not leave me regardless of societal um, uh, assurances that she won, where marriage is legal and mistresses and polygamy is not in some places and it is in some places. Basically, having a missus to your title is supposed to be a man's assurance that every child that comes from this woman is mine. So when men go searching, they have to navigate all the tricks of paternity or fertility on the woman's side, and when she gives birth, it's his children, because you see a lot of homes break up once the men discover that the children were not his. And this is why it is so heartbreaking for a lot of men, when they discover that their wife is unfaithful. This is why it's almost like women are, it's not comfortable, but it's almost like women tolerate cheating more than men. For us, a woman, the maternity of a child is 100%. If it comes from her, it's hers. However, men, they don't know anything about gestation, they don't know anything about fertility, they don't know anything about conception. So he could go and sleep with a woman, and it could be another man's child she eventually conceives. So it's really, for women, the child is always going to be hers. For the man, it may be someone else's. So marriage is a way to keep one woman under one man so that he can continue his lineage. Now, if in this evolutionary sense this is a weak man, that means he doesn't have the financial resources, he doesn't have the economic resources, he does not have the social standing or status to keep her. This is where most women walk away from their poor husbands or never do well husbands. For single mothers or women, it's like they thought this man was it, but he wasn't, and now she has to bring up the child all by herself. The point of all this is, it would seem as if that men take their time to search because they are at the most disadvantage. They may end up fathering and providing for an offspring that was never there. So for a woman, it's her child. Well, it may not be the father. The fatherhood of her child is not as, it does not alter her child, because this is a woman's child. So she's more interested in who's going to take care of her child. Basically, that is why single mothers never abandon their children. Never. Well, when I mean never, I mean you give birth, you protect the child at all costs, whether or not the father wants that child. Men can decide it's not mine, but a woman cannot say it's not mine because she carried the child. So when it comes to dating, for men know what they're looking for. They're careful, they're scared, they're very, very meticulous about the qualities of the woman who will bear their child that they are willing to take care of. Of course, there are irresponsible men who know that they just want sex. Pregnancy is just an accident as far as they're concerned. They would like to have sex uninterrupted with no repercussions. Oftentimes, a lot of gay people, that is why there's a high level of promiscuity with gay men, because this is now, an avenue, there is no more consequence to having sex. And that's why promiscuity is pretty high in the gay culture. Coming to smart dating for women, however, a woman needs protection, she needs status, she needs assurance, and she needs health to give birth to healthy babies. Making sure that you know your partner is sophisticated. At the end of the day, what is a man bringing to the table? Because knowing that a man who wants to have a family is going to be cautious. See, women for long term, a man who is interested in long term, one is going to be extra careful, going to be extra cautious. That means, what is your value system? What is your character? What is your personality? Does it fit with him? Until a man finds a woman who would provide this for him, every woman is just going to be knots on his belt. If you don't want to be not on a man's belt, you are the one who have to decide, what is he going to give me? Because at the end of the day, oftentimes women come across as if they are at the mercy of men. But if you look at it, it's the men who are at the mercy of the woman, because she can leave with a child. She might not tell them she's pregnant. Oftentimes there are men who say they never knew they had a child by the woman they dated or they had sex with. So, and the continuity of the human race is super, super depending on a woman choosing to go through with her pregnancy. So, if you want long term, you have to be sure that what the man is proposing, he's capable of delivering. Because at the end of the day, whether or not he pulls through, the survival of that child will fall on the woman. What this means is smart dating for women is not about finding Mr. Right. It's finding it's Mr. Right isn't a man who is perfect that you go and get. Mr. Right is the man who will give it's the man who has a history and you appreciate, or this is the type of person you like. It's not just any random man who is good or who is hardworking and so on and so forth. Because a man who is hardworking, industrious, ambitious, and all that, that is the evolutionary desirable man. But what makes him agreeable to you is what makes you different from the next one. Because if all men were just able to achieve the evolutionary standard, it wouldn't really, all you need to do is, it's like go to a place and pick up, it's like mass production, just go pick it up, order it, and go home. Don't even bother to open it. Go on Amazon, order a man, because just look for a man that has this feature, that feature, that feature, that feature, because nothing else matters. So for long-term dating, a woman needs to make sure that the man has the standard for long-term, first of all. But a lot of women, once they see standard, they jump in. Like, oh, he's got the basics. It's called basics for a reason. It means any man who does not show the basics is strictly short-term. Avoid, abort, exit the relationship. That is if you're interested in long-term. Now, for any man who is long-term and has the basics, now this is where the sifting for the woman comes. This is where the smart dating, because dating is supposed to allow you to see the basics, that a man has the evolutionary basics requirements for a long-term relationship or long-term coupling, matching, okay? Once you've gotten the evolutionary basics out of the way, and that means he's interested in long-term, that means he has the basics, that means social, economic, material, resources to cater for what he's proposing. And then comes the personality, which is the compatibility. At the end of the day, smart dating is you've gotten the basics, there's nothing to celebrate, this is a standard. If you bought bottled water, there should be water in the bottle. You shouldn't be happy that there's water in a water bottle. It's the standard. It's a question of now the packaging. Is this what I want? Is this what I like? Do I like the taste? Do I like the bottle shape, the size? This is all physical attraction now. For short-term dating, it's just the outside. What is the packaging? Whether or not he's ambitious doesn't concern people when it comes to short-term. Same thing for a woman. Whether she's a homemaker, home wrecker, doesn't concern a man. Is she available? Is she pliable? End of story. Long-term, however, you go from the evolutionary basics of care, protection, and leadership, and then you go into the individualized, the uniqueness of this person, that as it means to fitting you as a woman. Okay, smart dating, this is what we're talking about. And when you figure out this person fits with you, that's when you know that, okay, this can work. This is where we're matching. You're onto something now, because If they fit everything you want, you've passed the evolutionary first stage, you've passed the second stage of personality blends or compatibility. And then the third thing is, do they want to be with you? Because when someone has everything you want, do you have what they want? So this is the trade-off. Relationships are about trade-offs. If you find something you want, it's about bargain. Okay, what do you want for it? Okay, understand that dating is not a wishing well where you can't build a person like Frankenstein. Okay, it's trade-off, it's bargains. Like, I want this, what do you want for it? And this is what we do. Men want sex. It's like, okay, they're ready to throw money at a woman. They're ready to throw fame for celebrities and their groupies. You want what I want. What do you want for it? Relationships are always about bargain. So now that you found what you want, what is he offering? What are you willing to give? Sort of situation. And having long-lasting relationship is when a couple agrees, you have what I want, and I'm willing to pay for what you're offering, and we strike a deal. It's mutual, it's beneficial to both parties. So when it comes to smart dating, and for the evolution, you need to understand that there are certain things a man would do that is basic, but a lot of women seem to fall into the trap because they fish in short-term pool. So when they see a man who is basic long term, they're like, oh my god, he's different, he's so mature, if it's long term, he better be mature, honey. If it's long term, he better be mature. Being mature is not something to celebrate about for long term for a man. See, this is where a lot of women fall through the cracks. It's like, oh my god, he's different, he's so sweet, he's sensitive. He better be sensitive because he's going to be a father. Children don't understand logic. They need you to be kind and sweet and sensitive to their feelings. Babies cry because somebody better answer them. So if you don't want to do long term with a short term man, he better have the basics. He better come with the basics. Okay, smart dating is not about hooking up with the finest and the prettiest and the man with the mostest. Okay, it's about what will work for long term, and make sure he make sure he has it, and of course you work on yourself, because at the end of the day, do you have what it takes to be in a relationship long term? And this involves working on your personality, your character, your career, and the things that you enjoy. So similarity between couples, differences between couples, it all blends in the fine gray areas of the bargain of relationship. They're not supposed to make or break. Well, they do make or break, but they're not supposed to be the standard, the standard for choosing. The standard for choosing is number one and number two, and then you decide what are the differences and similarities are for the bargain, okay? And this is that you fulfilled all righteousness, just like in college, that you have fulfilled all the requirements to graduate. So there's no party doing what you're supposed to do, right? So guys, I hope this is a long video, well, longer than most, but I really needed to explain what smart dating is. It's not about getting on an app, dating.com. It's not about being hooked up with friends, okay? It's not about wanting that hot chick or good guy or that a man of means or high value man. There's a standard for long-term relationship, evolution-wise. It's almost like this is what nature has set for us. Anyone outside of that standard is cheating, a thief of your time. And it's up to you to be wise, not to give out your time to theft. Okay? So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video is as informative as I intended, and I will see you on my next video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
Toodaloo and good luck with your day.